Women and gender non-conforming people are holding marches across the country today. The hashtag Total Shutdown marches are against gender violence and the high femicide rate in the country. They are calling for an end to violence under the Total Shutdown movement. Scores of marchers and activists in Polokwane will hand over a memorandum against gender-based violence to the office of the Limpopo Premier. The women are set to make their way to Parliament as part of a national march. Meanwhile, motorists have been advised to use alternative routes in the Pretoria CBD following the women's march. We now cross to Cape Town to our reporter Nomawethu Solwandle. Good afternoon, Nomawethu. Give us an indication of what's been taking place so far.
Well, a very good afternoon to you. I can confirm that hundreds of women have now arrived here in Parliament from Keizersgracht this morning. It started off very slowly, but people started trickling in. And it's been really an interesting and very emotional morning. And I say emotional because this is not only a gathering or a march to Parliament, but the women here have started sharing their stories with other women, and it just looking at the similarities or the differences and just how big gender-based violence is in South Africa is really alarming. And I think I said this earlier in one of my crossings, that women are always talking about what happens to them or what's shocking them in other areas of the country on social media, but never really taking a stand like they have today. I mean, what's also very interesting in this march is that it's people from different cultures, it's young and old, and like I said earlier, very different stories. Joining me now is Lerato Stevens, who's also part of the Total Shutdown March. Lerato, I'm going to go straight into it. Why did you think it was very important to you to be part of this march, and what happened to you?
Hi. So basically for me, it's because about 3 years ago my drink was spiked, and as a result of that, I had conceived. I don't know what happened. I don't know how many men it was. I don't know what exactly happened, but that is a form of abuse because my rights were violated. I did not give anyone permission to, first of all, drug my drink or to sleep with me or anything to that extent. And I feel like as women, we never realize that there are so many forms of abuse. It starts from a drink being spiked and it can end in human trafficking. It starts from verbal abuse and being told, oh, you are to this and you're to that, to a woman being beaten and landing up in a grave. So I feel like this march is so important because so many women are here today saying what has happened to them, from big things to small things. And I feel like there's no such thing as big or small abuse, but the worst is when it lands up with a woman dying inside or physically because you couldn't speak out or you did not have any support. And this is why today is so important, because we have so much support here today and it's so beautiful. It's so emotional.
Lerato, also you told me earlier that you never really spoke out about it initially. Why was this? Why is it so difficult to stand up and speak out just after it's happened?
Well, first of all, you don't, depending on what is happening to you, you might not see it as abuse until you realize and you sit down and you have someone else actually look at it from the outside and tell you, look, you did not give the permission for this to happen. So when I realized, and after speaking to so many girls, I'm like, oh, my drink's been spiked. I've gotten home and I've not known how I got home and what happened to me that night. I can feel somebody had physically been with me that night, but I don't know who, I don't know what happened, and no guy comes forward and you don't know what happened to you. Things like that make you afraid because you get people saying things like, what were you wearing? I was wearing leggings and boots, it was winter. So you get people asking, what were you wearing? What were you doing there? Why should I have to answer those questions? I did not give anyone permission to do what they did. So that's why it's so scary speaking out in the beginning, because you never know what people are going to actually say to you.
Well, thank you very much for your time and for sharing your story with us. Well, that there was Lerato Stevens, who's part of the Total Shutdown March that's made its way now to Parliament, sharing a very scary story where her drink was spiked when she was out with friends and she ended up conceiving from that incident. But she's here to say that women need to open up about these things. They need to speak up in order for something to be done. Well, they're due to hand over a memorandum of grievances to 3 pillars of government. They're supposed to be here until around 1 o'clock, but we'll keep you updated as things unfold here outside of Parliament. With that, it's back to you guys in studio.